Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. October 10th was just a normal day in the Hidden Leaf Village, or as normal as a ninja village could be. On this day only known to a select few, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, wife of the 4th Hokage, the Yellow Flash, Minato Namikaze, was in the middle of giving birth today and was currently laying on her back in a secret cave a few miles from the village. The reason she's so far away is because she is the Jinchuriki on the demon nine-tailed fox, and there's a huge risk of releasing the nine tails due to her seal weakening. Her risk was even worse since she was delivering triplets, 2 boys and 1 girl. Come on Kushina, one more push and you're done, Minato said with his hands placed over the seal trying to keep it intact. Shut the hell up. How about you try giving birth? Kushina yelled. Kushina, he's right. Just one more push. One more push and you'll have all of your babies. A doctor known as Bawako Sarutobi said. I can't do it. I can't do it. Kushina said. You can do it Kushina. Come on, just one more push. Tsunade Senju, granddaughter of the first Hokage and one of the legendary Sannin. Come on Kushina. Just one more push. The seal is slipping away. Minato said. Where the hell is Jiraiya? Tsunade asked. The toads called him for an emergency. Minato said. H. Kushina yelled, as she pushed her final baby out. Congratulations, Kushina, it's a girl. Bawako said. That makes 2 boys and 1 girl. Tsunade said. What are their names? Bawako asked. I'll name the girl, Narumi. The blonde boy can be named Menma. Kushina said. Kushina then looked at the firstborn child. His hair was blonde, but you could see a tint of red towards the ends of his hair. The first Narumi and Menma had her violet eyes, while the oldest however had his father's blue eyes. His skin wasn't as pale as his brother and sister. Kushina had a hard time finding a name for him. She was cut off when a scream was heard in the room and Bawako was dead on the ground while a masked man was holding the son she has yet to name. They all looked at the masked man and he spoke up. 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Step away from the Jinchuriki, or else this child will die in its very first minutes of life. The man said. Who is he? Minato thought and Kushina yelled since Minato hasn't fixed the seal and the Kyuubi is starting to escape. Get away from the Jinchuriki. The man said and pulled out a kunai, placing it at the baby's neck. Wait. Please. Just stay calm. Minato begged. I'm completely calm. The man said. He ducked out of the way from a punch by Tsunade and then kicked her away unintentionally, giving Minato more than enough time to dissect how he fights. He tossed the baby in the air and Minato reacted quickly, grabbed the baby and noticed the paper bombs on the blanket the baby was wrapped in. He tossed the blanket aside and rushed out of the cave as it exploded. Tsunade appeared by his side holding Narumi and Menma with a sad look on her face. He took her before I could grab her. Tsunade said. I know. He's after the 9 tails. Damn it. The toads knew we needed Jiraiya here today with her giving birth to help hold the seal. Minato said. Let's get the kids to safety and then find Kushina. Tsunade said. Minato teleported them to another safe house he owned and placed all 3 babies in a crib. Tsunade noticed Menma and Narumi would inch away from their brother, but he didn't seem bothered by it. While Narumi and Menma were crying, he was silent and sleeping. She looked up and noticed Minato had changed into his shinobi clothes and threw on his Hokage robe. I'll bring Kushina back here. She might be able to survive having the 9 tails ripped out of her, but it's going to be close. I want you to heal her as best as you can and keep an eye on her vitals. Minato said. Make sure you kick that guys. Tsunade said. I will. Minato said. Minato teleported away and returned instantly with Kushina, who was breathing heavily. He placed her on the bed and Tsunade quickly got to work on bringing her back to a stable condition. Minato was about to leave when Kushina spoke up to him. Minato. He's going to attack the village. Kushina said through labored breaths. I know. I'm going to stop him and the 9 tails. Our babies are safe. I'll be back. Minato said and disappeared. Tsunade continued to check on Kushina for a while and eventually she was able to stabilize her and hit her to the point where she only needed some rest. Tsunade was surprised that Kushina would actually survive since having a tailed beast removed from you is almost a sure thing to kill you. Kushina wanted nothing more than to sleep, but Narumi and Menma kept crying and she had to feed them. Their brother would whimper every once in a while as he was hungry as well, but every time Tsunade brought the oldest baby close to Kushina, Narumi and Menma would always start crying even louder. I don't think they like their brother. Tsunade said with a small laugh. I'm sure it's nothing. Can you take them so I can feed him? Kushina asked. Sure. I can do that. Tsunade said and they swapped babies making Menma and Narumi cry once again. He's got both of your hair colors. I've never seen anything like it before. Tsunade said. I know. Narumi will have straight red hair like me. Menma will have his father's wild and spiky blonde hair. As for the oldest, maybe he'll have a combination of both once he grows older. Kushina said. Have you figured out a name for him yet? Tsunade said. No, I haven't. I hope Minato thought of one because I'm drawing a blank right now. Kushina said, as he was finished eating. I'm sure you'll figure something out. I want to know why the toads called Jiraiya away though. None of this would be happening if he were here. The seal would have been fixed as soon as you were finished giving birth with those two here. He better have a good explanation for this or I'm sending him into the hospital again. Tsunade said and then Minato appeared in the room. Minato. What happened? Kushina asked. I managed to fight the guy off. He escaped before I could finish him off. He uses some kind of space-time ninjutsu that's almost as fast as me using the Hiraishin. Minato said. That's impossible. You're the fastest shinobi alive. How can someone possibly match your speed? Tsunade asked. He called himself Madara Uchiha. Anyway, we have another problem. The Nine Tails is still going on a rampage and I have Gamabunta holding him off with Lord Third. I need to reseal it. Minato said. Let's go then. I can take it back inside of me. Kushina said. No, it can't be you. Your chakra coils are already depleted and you haven't fully recovered from the Nine Tails being extracted from you. Minato said. Then where are you going to seal it? Kushina asked and Minato looked at her kids. You're joking. Tsunade said. Unfortunately I'm not. They're the only ones who can hold the Nine Tails due to their Uzumaki genes and their chakra coils haven't developed yet. Minato said. No, absolutely not. Kushina yelled. Kushina, they're the only ones I can think of. I can't use anybody else's kid. What kind of Hokage would I be if I could sacrifice somebody else's child and not my own? Please, I need to do this. I'll split its chakra from the body and divide each between the three of them. Minato said. You sure you can't use me? Kushina asked. Yes, I'm positive. The Nine Tails would just force its way out because you're still weak from the extraction. If I were to reseal it into you, then you would die and it would escape. I have to do this. Minato said. Fine, then I'm coming with you. I can use my chakra chains to hold it down. Kushina said. I don't know. You think she can handle it? Minato asked Tsunade. She should be able to. She's a full-blooded Uzumaki, so her chakra chains barely take up any chakra. I'll come along just in case. Tsunade said. Thank you. Minato said and they gathered the kids and left to do the sealing. Battlefield. Minato, Kushina and Tsunade arrived in the clearing where the Nine Tails was being held. They noticed the third Hokage was standing on top of Gamabunta using his staff to hold the Nine Tails down. Kushina used her chains to hold down the Nine Tails and Gamabunta went back to Mt. Myoboku while the third Hokage landed in front of them. Kushina, you're still alive, Hiruzen said shocked. It's going to take a lot more than some stupid overstuffed cat to take me down. Kushina said and they all chuckled at her. Minato, what's the plan? Hiruzen asked. I'm going to split the Nine Tails' mind and body from its chakra. I know you want to argue, but it must be done. Now, I need everyone to stand back. The jutsu I have to use requires a soul sacrifice. Minato said. Minato Namikaze. You are not killing yourself just to seal away some stupid fox. Kushina said, and then the nine tails roared. Shut up, you stupid fox. Kushina yelled and everyone's sweat dropped at her. I'll do it then. Hiruzen said. What? Tsunade asked. I said I'll do it. I'll do the jutsu to sacrifice my soul. Minato, you have a new family to look after and take care of. Consider this my final act as Hokage. Hiruzen said. I'm sorry, Lord Third, but I can't let you do that. Minato said. Minato, I've already lost Bawako. Asuma doesn't need me anymore. He hardly even speaks to me. Just let me do this, please. Hiruzen said, and Tsunade saw the look on his face. Just let him do it, Minato. Let him go out on his own terms. Tsunade said. Fine. You can do it, Minato said with a sigh. Thank you. Now, who will we be dividing the chakra into and who gets the mind? Hiruzen asked. Place the chakra inside of Narumi and Menma. Narumi has a high chance of accessing the Uzumaki chakra chains, and Menma, I can tell, will have a high amount of chakra on his own. They'll be able to handle the chakra. Give the mind and soul to the oldest one. Minato said. You still haven't figured out a name for him? Hiruzen asked. No, but we're really thinking, and we're also kind of in the middle of something. Kushina said. Right. Minato, protect the village at all costs. Do not let anything happen to it. I'm once again putting my complete faith and trust into you. Remember this. When the tree leaves dance, one shall find flames. The fire's shadow will illuminate the village, and once again, tree leaves shall bud anew. Hiruzen said. Everyone stepped back, and Minato summoned the altar for the three children to be placed on. Once the children were on the altar, Minato went next to his wife and Tsunade. Hiruzen activated the Reaper Death Seal, then sealed the chakra into Narumi and Menma. Tsunade came and took the two of them from the altar after they were finished. Hiruzen was about to seal the body inside of the oldest baby, but the nine tails lashed out and tried to stab him with its nail. Hiruzen jumped in front of the nail and was stabbed through his back and used his staff to stop the nail from going any further. The baby looked up at Hiruzen and smiled a bit, making Hiruzen smile a bit himself. You'll be a great ninja someday. You carry the will of fire inside of you and are destined for great things. I hope to hear your story when your journey is done, Naruto. Seal. Hiruzen said. Those were the final words of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the professor of shinobi and the third Hokage. The nine tails let out a final roar of defeat as it was sealed away inside of Naruto. The third Hokage fell to the ground after the Shinigami ripped out his soul, and he had a smile on his face. His staff transformed into a monkey that had a sad look on his face as he looked at his fallen summoner. The monkey picked up Naruto and took him to his family. King Enma. Minato greeted. I have your son here. Hiruzen has high hopes for him. I wish you all well. Enma said as he handed Naruto to Minato. Thank you, Enma. Minato said. We still need a name for him, Minato. Kushina said. He already has one. Hiruzen called him Naruto just before he died. I would stick with that one to honor him. Enma said. Of course he would choose Naruto. That's the name of the character from Jiraiya's first book. He loved that book almost as much as he loved reading the smut Jiraiya writes. Tsunade said, and Enma left in a cloud of smoke. Naruto it is then. Do you like that? Your name's Naruto. Yes it is. Kushina said in Naruto's face, and all she got back was a fart. Come on. We have to grab his body and prepare the funeral for everyone who died, and I have to let the village know what's going on. Minato said, and he gave Naruto to Tsunade and picked up Hiruzen's body. Funeral. After the body viewing was over with, Minato stood on top of the Hokage Tower with Kushina, Jiraiya and Tsunade. He was ready to give his speech to the people of Konoha. People of Konoha. Tonight was the worst night in the history of the Leaf Village. As you all know, the Nine Tails attacked. We managed to stop it, but it cost us loved ones and friends. Hiruzen Sarutobi was amongst those men who bravely fought and died. He sacrificed his life to seal away the Nine Tails into my children. Minato said. Won't the Nine Tails escape? A villager asked and everyone started to freak out. No. The seal is safe and secure. I've checked it along with my wife Kushina and Master Jiraiya, who are both seal masters. We separated the chakra from its body among my children. Menma and Narumi pose the fox's chakra while Naruto contains the body and mind of the Nine Tails. Tomorrow I want all available ninja and civilians who are able to start helping with the construction to rebuild the village. Tonight, I'll give you all time to mourn your losses. Thank you, Minato said and walked away from the podium going into the building. I need to talk to you about something, Minato. Jiraiya said. Sure, what is it? Minato asked. Where the hell have you been? Is a better question. Tsunade said. The toads called me away to talk about a prophecy. Jiraiya said. What did they say? Minato asked. The one with power it wasn't born with, shall be the savior or destroyer of the world. Jiraiya said. What are you saying? Minato asked. I think once Menma and Narumi are old enough, we should start focusing on their training. Jiraiya said. What about Naruto? Kushina asked. He'll have to learn from the academy when they start. Narumi and Menma are the children of prophecy. They both have power they weren't born with due to them possessing the Nine Tails chakra, and we can't have them go down the right path. Jiraiya said. You want us to neglect one of our children? Kushina asked. It's for the best, Kushina. Besides, Naruto will learn at the academy. I'm not the world's best sensor, but Naruto's chakra levels aren't as nearly large as Narumi and Menma's, and that's not even counting the Nine Tails chakra. They'll need the extra training anyway. Jiraiya said. I'll think about it. Minato said. Make the right decision. Jiraiya said and left. You seriously aren't thinking about this, are you, Minato? Tsunade asked, holding Naruto. I don't know. We have years before they're ready to start training, so I'm not worried about it. Minato said. Here, let me take Naruto and get the kids home. Kushina said. She reached for Naruto, but Narumi and Menma would start fussing. She pulled her hands back and they stopped, but once she reached again they would start fussing again. She grabbed Naruto and laid him next to Menma, who started wailing and was hitting Naruto, who just looked unbothered. After Menma was done hitting Naruto, Naruto swung his own hand and hit Menma, making him cry really loud. I guess they'll have a small sibling rivalry. Minato said with a laugh. I guess they will. Kushina said. I don't know. Naruto's attitude doesn't even seem like any of yours. He's extremely laid back and it sort of reminds me of Kakashi. Tsunade said. That is not going to happen. Kushina said and poked Naruto's nose. I don't know. I just don't see him getting out of that personality. Watch this. Tsunade said and did a chakra-enhanced clap, not getting a reaction from Naruto, but Menma and Narumi started to cry. Is he deaf? Kushina asked with worry. No, he definitely heard it. I just don't think he cares. Tsunade said. Great. Hopefully he'll balance out and have an interesting personality like me. Kushina said. Alright, let's get these three home and then we'll be able to figure that stuff out at a later time. Minato said. Are you coming with us, Tsunade? Kushina asked. No, but I'll be back soon. I have some stuff to handle in the Land of Lightning and Shizune will be coming with me. I should be back in 6 months or so. Tsunade said. Okay. Don't drink too much. Kushina said. Whatever. Tsunade said and left. Ready to go home? Minato asked. Yup. Kushina said and they left. It's been 5 years since the Nine Tails attack and the villagers were getting ready for October 10th, which was Naruto, Menma and Narumi's birthday. For Naruto, he didn't really care for his birthday since he's never really gotten anything. He didn't make friends because parents would tell their kids to stay away from them, and the people that wanted to be his friends only did that so they could get close to Menma and Narumi. Over the years he's become close with 3 people who are a few years older than him and old enough to be his mother. Those people are Itachi Uchiha, Shisui Uchiha and Makoto Uchiha. Naruto stumbled on Shisui and Itachi training once, then asked if they could train him, but they had to decline due to them being out on missions more often. He's known Makoto, who was pretty much his aunt thanks to her always being around Kushina and spending time with him. Right now, Naruto was walking home since he did have a party to help set up for even though he didn't want to be there and the party was a few days away. The main reason was because all of the clan heirs would be there and all they would do is swoon over Menma and Narumi. Over the years growing up he knew his brother and sister didn't like him and had a feeling it's been that way since birth. Whenever they would break something or do something bad, they would blame him and he would get in trouble. All of a sudden he ducked his head down and a glass bottle went flying over his head. That's another thing about him, he's always had good danger senses since he was born and he's never known why. He turned around and saw an angry mob running after him, so he did the only thing he could and ran. He ran as fast as his legs could take him and when he was almost home, he was pulled into an alley and didn't even see who did it. If he was able to see who did it, he would have noticed the blank masked Anbu leaving the scene. Nowhere to run now you little demon. A drunk man said. Demon? Who? Naruto asked confused. You're a demon in human skin. A different man said. But, I am a human. Naruto said and the mob of people started to laugh at him. You're nothing but a fox in disguise. Today's the day you die you stupid fox. A villager said. They didn't give him the chance to respond because they all just charged in and started beating him when he was cornered. Naruto took a blow to the head and then everything went black. The beating continued and eventually the villagers got bored after 20 minutes because he wasn't screaming in pain like they wanted. They walked away and left him there on the ground unconscious and bleeding with torn clothes. Makoto Uchiha was walking around the village and noticed the mob leave the alley. She was going to ignore it, but her motherly instincts took over so she went to the alley and saw Naruto's bloody body laying on the ground. She quickly ran over to him ignoring the onlookers. Naruto. What happened? Makoto yelled and Shisui arrived since he heard her yell. What happened? Shisui asked. I don't know. Go tell Kushina while I take him to the hospital. Makoto said and vanished. Hospital. I need a hospital room. Makoto said as she burst into the hospital and saw all of the nurses turn away from her. Sorry, but we're not allowed to care for demons. A nurse said and Makoto's Sharingan flared to life. Say it again. Makoto said in a deadly voice making the nurse shake in fear. I'm sorry. The nurse said. What's your name? Makoto asked. Sari. Sari said. Tell me, Sari, does this look like a demon? Makoto asked and lifted Naruto up. No. I'm just following instructions. Sari said. Whose instructions? Makoto asked and Sari pointed to a sign. That sign. Sari said and it was a sign that said demon with Naruto's face crossed out. Who put that there? Makoto asked. I don't know. I've only been here for a week. They take it down when the Hokage or his wife comes in though. They said it takes away from the nice look we have here. Sari said and Makoto sighed. Sari, get me a room for Naruto. Makoto said and deactivated her Sharingan. He's lost too much blood. If anything he'll need a blood transfusion and Lady Kushina as well as Lord Hokage are somehow exempt from giving blood. Sari said as she pulled out their files and ran to a room with Makoto. Kushina I can understand due to her Jinchuriki status and the village not wanting to take any chances with her, but I don't understand why Minato is exempt. Makoto thought. Use mine. We're both B positive. Makoto said, as she laid him on a bed and Sari read her file as well. Okay. You're in the clear, but I have to ask if you're sure. Sari asked. I'm positive. Just do it. Makoto said. Okay. Sari said and started to take her blood. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto woke up in some kind of sewer, but noticed his clothes weren't getting wet despite being in water. He stood up a bit shaken up and wandered around until he found himself in front of a cage. He walked closer until a pair of blood-red eyes opened and looked at him. Who are you? Naruto asked. I am what resides inside of you, human. A deep voice said. What do you mean? Naruto asked and the figure moved forward revealing a sickly-looking nine-tails. I am the nine-tailed fox and the reason you were on the verge of death. The nine-tails said. Verge of death? I'm still alive? Naruto asked. Yes. Makoto Uchiha found you and had you rushed to the hospital. She did a blood transfusion to save your life. The Nine Tails said. How do you know all of that? Naruto asked. While you were unconscious before coming here, I was able to hear everything that was being said. The Nine Tails said. I guess I'll have to thank her. If you're the Nine Tails, why do you look like that? Aren't you supposed to be much bigger? Naruto asked. I am. However, I was separated from all of my power into your siblings. The third Hokage sealed me away by splitting me into 3 parts. Your siblings have my power while you have my mind and soul. This is the result until I am reunited with my power. The Nine Tails said. How does that happen? Naruto asked. I was supposed to regain my power, but since I was sealed away by the death god, my soul has been slowly fading away, splitting itself in 2 since my power is in 2 locations. Possibly by your birthday I'll be gone from inside of you and I'll reside in your siblings. The Nine Tails said. So, can I ask you something that I always wondered? Naruto asked. What is it? The Nine Tails asked. Can you explain why I'm always able to sort of sense danger? I know there are sensor-type ninja, but mine isn't like that. Naruto said. Call it a 6th sense if you will. An animal has the ability to sense danger hours in advance, but you seem to have picked up on it, but only able to react a few seconds before it happens. It won't get any better than that, but it will be helpful should you decide to become a shinobi. While you may develop a sensory-type ability once you unlock your chakra completely, your danger sense will always be there. The Nine Tails said. Cool. So, why aren't you going on an evil rampage? Didn't you attack the village 5 years ago? Naruto asked. Yes, but I was being controlled by someone with a Sharingan. His name is Madara Uchiha. I was ripped out of your mother when she gave birth and forced to attack the village. The only thing I remember after I was ripped out of your mother was being sealed away. The Nine Tails said. Madara Uchiha, the guy that had a rivalry with the first Hokage? Naruto asked. Yes. The Nine Tails said. I'll have to read up on that. Anyway, what do you mean you were ripped out of my mother? Naruto asked. Your mother isn't from here. She was brought over here to become my second host, or in human terms, a Jinchuriki. My first host, Mito Uzumaki, grew old and could no longer contain my power, so I was transferred over into your mother since she has the ability to suppress my power. I've now had 5 hosts in my entire lifetime. The Nine Tails said. You've been sealed away for over 100 years? Naruto asked. You could say that yes, but that's just a mere fraction compared to how long I've lived. The Nine Tails said. Are there others like you? Naruto said. Yes. There are a total of 9-tailed beasts and we're all spread around the elemental nations. After I was sealed away, in order to keep peace between villages, Hashirama Senju decided to go out and capture the remaining tailed beasts, then basically gave us away as if we were his property. In doing so, all he did was give the nations even more reason to fight, as they wanted to prove who was stronger, thus starting the age of the Jinchuriki. The Nine Tails said. So, we're paying for Hashirama's mistakes? Naruto asked. If you want to put it like that, then yes. The Nine Tails said. Can't we just take the others out of their Jinchuriki and have you roam free? Naruto asked. You could, but the host will die after a tailed beast is removed. The Nine Tails said. Then how did my mother survive? Naruto asked. You really don't know anything about your lineage. The Uzumaki are known to have incredibly powerful life forces, and your mother had that, plus she was given medical attention right away. She was obviously handicapped for a while, but she clearly made a full recovery. Only an Uzumaki would have the potential to survive the removal of a tailed beast. The Nine Tails said. So, I'll be dying when you go away? Naruto asked. No. The seal was designed to drain me of my soul and kill me, but something went wrong and I'll just split into 2 separate souls, returning to my power. You might feel a slight burning sensation on your stomach, but that's because I'm fading away and the seal is going away. Your siblings, on the other hand, well, they're going to get it a lot worse, but hopefully it will happen during their sleep, since I don't want to hear their constant whining and yelling. The Nine Tails said, say you were stuck here without your power forever. What would happen if Narumi and Menma were to use your power? Naruto asked. Without the soul or my body to control it, my power would quickly rush through their system since there is no medium to help filter it from completely rushing out of the seal. If they weren't stopped in time, then they would go on a rampage until they are dead. With me returning, that will not happen since I'll be there to forcefully hold back my power. They will still go on a rampage and lose control if they aren't strong enough, but it's a lot less than what would happen if I never returned. The Nine Tails said, you know, you don't seem as evil and mean like I thought you would. Naruto said, you haven't given me a reason to. Believe it or not, we tailed beasts were created to become protectors and not used as weapons of war. The Nine Tails said, who created you? Naruto asked and started to fade away. Seems as if you're waking up. I'll do some messing around with what little power I have in my body now, and you'll have a gift from me once you unlock your chakra. It was nice talking to you, Naruto. The Nine Tails said, and Naruto completely faded away. Real world, are you sure he's alright? Makoto asked. Lady Makoto, the operation was successful. Sari said, he's been out for 2 days though. Why hasn't he woken up yet? Makoto asked. His body must have gone into shock, forcing him into a coma. He's perfectly healthy other than some malnourishment, but that's fixable. Sari said, and Makoto sighed. I guess so, but his birthday party is in a few days and I don't want him to miss it. Makoto said, it's not like I'm getting anything. Naruto said, Naruto. Makoto said and gave him a bone-crushing hug. Lady Makoto, please be gentle. He just woke up. Sari said, I'm fine. I heal up fast. Naruto said, why were you out late at night walking by yourself? Makoto asked. I was just coming home and I was attacked. Can I leave now? This place s. Naruto said, yes. You're free to leave, but you'll have to take it easy for a few days before you can do anything. Sari said, come on. Let's get you home, Naruto. I'm sure your family is worried about you. Makoto said, I highly doubt it, but come on. My parents have some explaining to do about a certain fox. Naruto said, and Makoto gasped. What fox? Makoto asked. The Nine Tails. Naruto said, Sari, can you give us the room? Makoto asked. Of course. Sari said and left the room. How do you know about the Nine Tails? Makoto asked. I spoke to him while I was unconscious. He's probably gone by now since his soul returned to his power. Naruto said, you talked to it? Makoto asked. Him, and yes. Naruto said, about what? Makoto asked. My mother was his second Jinchuriki. Only an Uzumaki can survive a tailed beast being removed. My sixth sense comes from foxes being able to sense danger, and how Hashirama basically started all of this crap. Oh, and I know the real reason he attacked 5 years ago. Naruto said, Naruto, you can't trust the Nine Tails. He could be lying to you. Makoto said, so my mother wasn't a Jinchuriki? Naruto asked. Well, yes she was. Makoto said, proven point right there, and it must not be known to everyone since you just told the nurse to leave the room. Naruto said, and Makoto sighed. Why couldn't he be a normal kid? He just had to be extremely smart. Makoto thought. So, what are you going to do with this information? Makoto asked. Nothing. Nobody would believe me, and my parents would strap me to a table so fast to check my seal, which probably won't be there anymore if I were to tell them that I talked to the Nine Tails. Naruto said, well, he's got a point. Makoto thought. Alright, let's keep it between us for now and head out. Itachi and Sasuke are waiting for me at home. I'll take you home and I'll see you at your party in a few days. Big day for you being the oldest. You're officially going to become clan heir. Makoto said, I guess so. Naruto said, party. The party was going on, and just as Naruto knew, the clan heirs and all the kids that were there, all avoided him and played with Menma and Narumi. He sat off to the corner and just read a book he found. He was brought out of his musings when someone tapped him on the shoulder. He looked up and saw Makoto staring at him holding a gift in her hand. Hi, Naruto. Makoto said, "Hi, Makoto." Naruto said, "What are you reading?" Makoto asked. "A book." Naruto said and her eye twitched. "What's the name of the book?" Makoto asked. "Shinobi Battle Tactics." Naruto said, "Well, that's good. It goes perfectly with my gift I got for you." Makoto said and handed it to him. "What is it?" Naruto asked. "Open it." Makoto said and he did as told, revealing practice kunai as well as practice shuriken. "Thank you, Makoto." Naruto said and gave her a hug. "You're welcome, sweetie." Makoto said, "All right, everyone gather around. I have an announcement to make." Minato said and everyone gathered around except Naruto. "Don't you wanna go see what it is?" Makoto asked. "No, I'm perfectly fine right here." Naruto said, "Okay everyone, as you know, next year all of our children will begin the academy. It is with great pride that I announce, Menma is now named the clan heir of the Namikaze clan and Narumi is now named the heir of the Uzumaki clan. They will begin their training tomorrow, as should all clan heirs if they haven't begun already." Minato said and everyone except for Makoto clapped. "That's not all. Me and Jiraiya have been talking and we've decided to let Menma and Narumi sign either the slug contract or the toad contract." Tsunade said. "Really?" Narumi and Menma yelled. "Yes, really. Now which one do you want to sign?" Jiraiya asked, as they both summoned their scrolls. "I want the toads." Menma exclaimed. "I want the slugs." Narumi said and they each went up and were instructed on how to sign the contracts. "I thought Naruto was supposed to become the clan heir." Shisui said to Itachi. "He was, but apparently Lord Fourth and Lady Kushina had other plans." Itachi said, "You think he's upset about it?" Shisui asked. "Look for yourself." Itachi said, looking at Naruto reading a book. "I think he already knew this was coming." Shisui said, "Me too." Itachi said, "Let's just enjoy the party." Shisui said, "Minato. Kushina." Jiraiya said, "Yes, Jiraiya." Minato said, "I see you've finally decided to begin their training. What about Naruto?" Jiraiya asked. "He's going to have to wait a bit longer." Minato said, "Good. Now another thing. I know this sounds weird, but we need to keep them happy. So whatever they want we should give it to them, but only if it's reasonable." Jiraiya said, "Naruto. So that's why you didn't really care about the announcement." Makoto said, "It's pretty obvious that they favor those two over me. It's not exactly hard to tell." Naruto said, "I suppose you're right. What about your training? Are they going to train you?" Makoto asked. "I highly doubt it. They bought the new clan heir's ninja supplies and I didn't get anything from them. They signed the toad contract and the slug contract while I got nothing. They get treated like royalty by the villagers, while I'm taken into alleyways and nearly killed. They get every single thing they ask for while I have to beg to even get recognized." Naruto said and Makoto just gave him a hug. "Don't worry. I'm sure everything will get better for you. How about I train you until the academy?" Makoto asked. "Really?" Naruto asked. "Sure. What kind of ant would I be if I didn't try to train you? Besides, my blood is inside of you. I'm like your second mother now." Makoto said, "I guess you're right." Naruto said, "We'll start tomorrow." Makoto said, "What about Sasuke?" Naruto asked. "Sasuke wants his brother or father to train him since he's seen them train." "His loss." Makoto said and wrote something down on a piece of paper. "What's that?" Naruto asked. "Instructions. I want you to unlock your chakra before you go to bed. Tomorrow I'll get you started on chakra control, taijutsu as well as your kunai and shuriken training. I'll train you from 6 in the morning to 6 at night." Makoto said, "What about my ninjutsu and genjutsu?" Naruto asked. "Once I feel like your chakra control is good enough I'll start your ninjutsu and genjutsu training. If everything goes smoothly we should start in 6 months." Makoto said, "Okay. Where do you want me to meet you?" Naruto asked. "Training Ground 31. Makoto said, "Okay. Training Ground 31 at 6 in the morning." Naruto said, "That's right. Don't forget about unlocking your chakra. It should be easy for you compared to your brother and sister." Makoto said, I'm going to get started now. Naruto said and gave her a hug. You're not going to stay for the party? Makoto asked, as she returned the hug. No, I bet only you, Itachi and Shisui know I'm here anyway. Naruto said, okay, I'll be here for a few more hours so I'll come check on you. Makoto said, okay. Naruto said and left as Kushina was coming towards them. Hey, Makoto, was that Naruto? Kushina asked. Yes. Makoto said, I was going to give him his gift. I guess I'll do it later. Kushina said, what did you get him? Makoto asked, a book on chakra manipulation. I see him always reading ninja books so I figured he'd like that one. Kushina said, huh, I thought you didn't get him anything since only Menma and Narumi are the only ones training. Makoto said and Kushina sighed. I know, but you wouldn't understand. Kushina said, try me. Makoto said, the toads gave Jiraiya a prophecy on their birth saying the one with power it wasn't born with will be the savior or destroyer of the world. Kushina said, it hasn't occurred to you that all three of them have something they weren't born with. Makoto said and kept the secret about the 9 tails to herself. I know, but Narumi and Menma have the power of the 9 tails. Naruto just has the body and soul. It has to be one of them. I'll start Naruto's training when he starts the academy. Kushina said, so he can be behind everyone else in the class. Makoto asked, he'll be fine. Kushina said, if you say so. Makoto said, Mom, come on. Narumi said, yeah, Dad said he'll show us some of his awesome ninjutsu. Menma said, I guess I have to go. Can you give this to Naruto for me, please? Kushina asked and handed Makoto Naruto's gift. Sure. Makoto said, thanks a bunch. Kushina said and walked away. Konoha Forest. Naruto made his way to the forest near his house and sat down in a meditative stance. He searched deep inside of himself and quickly found his chakra, but it was a lot more than he thought it would be. He did as the instructions said, then pushed it to the surface. As soon as Makoto managed to locate Naruto, she felt the amount of chakra he released and noticed the cracks in the ground underneath him. This much chakra already? He has nearly as much chakra as a Chunin. Who am I kidding? All Uzumaki clan members have large chakra reserves. Makoto thought. I know you're there. Naruto said. A sensor type. Makoto thought. I don't know why all of you are here, but come out. Naruto said and Makoto activated her Sharingan as 5 blank masked Anbu appeared. Root Anbu. Makoto thought and prepared to jump from her hiding spot. I said all of you need to come out. Whoever you are hanging in the back, you need to come out, now. Naruto said and then somebody walked out. Danzo. Makoto thought. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Danzo said, what do you want? Naruto asked. I have an offer for you. I've heard your brother and sister are getting trained by 4 of the strongest shinobi in our village. Danzo said, your point? Naruto asked. I am here to offer you the same. In return, all I ask is that you join me and help me make Konoha an even greater village. Danzo said and Naruto just looked at him. No. Naruto said, such a shame. With my training and influence you won't get attacked by mobs of civilians again. It's a shame people mistake you for the 9 tails despite the 4th Hokage telling them otherwise. Danzo said, yeah, but stuff happens. Now leave. I'm in the middle of doing something important. Naruto said and he was surrounded by the blank masked Anbu. You seem to think I was asking. It was a suggestion and now it'll be by force. Danzo said and tapped his cane on the ground for the Anbu to attack, but Makoto appeared. Danzo. Makoto said. The matriarch of the Uchiha clan. Danzo said and grit his teeth. Leave now. We both know this would only end in your death. Makoto said. We'll meet again, Naruto, and you will join me. Danzo said and walked into the forest as his Anbu disappeared. Fat chance of that happening. Naruto said and looked at Makoto. What the? Makoto said, as she looked at Naruto. What? Naruto asked. What did you do? Makoto asked. I didn't do anything. Naruto said. Your eyes. Makoto said. What about them? Naruto asked. You have the Sharingan. Makoto said. How? I'm not an Uchiha, Naruto said, and she showed him his reflection from a pocket mirror revealing two One-Tomo Sharingan eyes. My DNA is inside of you now, but you shouldn't be able to unlock the Sharingan from it. Maybe the Nine Tails did something. Makoto said. This must be the gift he was talking about. Naruto said. Okay. Keep this a secret between us for now. With you having the Sharingan, it just made your training even more intense. I'll have to explain the Sharingan to you, its abilities, and something else that's very important about it. Makoto said. Okay. Naruto said. Oh, before I forget, your mother gave me a gift for you, and so did Kakashi. Makoto said. I didn't know Kakashi was here. Naruto said. He's sort of late. You know how he is. Makoto said and gave him the gifts. A book on chakra manipulation and a mask. Naruto said. According to Kakashi, it's more than just an ordinary mask. Apparently it filters out air so you can breathe in smoky areas, and it's tougher, which means it's harder to destroy. Makoto said, and he put the mask on. How do I look? Naruto asked. Not bad. Remember to meet me at Training Ground 31 tomorrow for your training. Makoto said, as Kushina, Minato, Narumi, and Menma came over to them. There you two are, Jiraiya said, and Naruto started to read. Guess what? We're starting our training tomorrow. Narumi said. Yeah, Dad even said he's going to teach us some awesome ninjutsu. Menma said. That's wonderful, you two. I can tell the two of you will be really strong. Makoto said. Of course we're going to be strong. Menma said. Listen, Naruto. We're sorry about not being able to train you right away. Minato said. We just have to focus on your brother and sister right now. Kushina said. You see, they have a power deep inside of them that we need to help them control before we include you in any training. Jiraiya said. You understand, right? Minato asked, and Naruto was just reading his book. Naruto. Kushina yelled. Did you say something? Naruto asked, and Kushina's eye dangerously twitched. Kakashi. Kushina growled. Actually, I volunteered to give him some training. Only to have him ready by the academy. Makoto said. Are you sure? I mean, you still have Sasuke and Itachi. Minato said. Why not help us train Menma and Narumi? Jiraiya asked. Yeah, Auntie Miko. Help us train. Narumi said. Sorry kiddo, but you've already got the top 4 shinobi in our village training the two of you. It wouldn't be fair for Naruto to be the only one without training. Makoto said. Fine. Narumi said and glared at Naruto, who wasn't paying attention. Don't worry, Narumi. We'll be better than Naruto at the academy, and then we can both take turns beating him. Menma said. You're right. We're going to beat you up, Naruto. Narumi said. You both have tried countless times before training and you've failed every single time. Naruto said and walked away. They've fought before? Makoto asked. A little sibling rivalry. You know, the youngest two are trying to take out the oldest. Nothing to worry about, Minato said. Right. Anyway, I need to get home before Fugaku throws a fit. Happy birthday to you too. Makoto said and vanished. Whoa, I want to learn that. Narumi said. Me too. Menma said. We'll get started tomorrow morning in the backyard. Minato said. Next day, Training Ground 31. You're actually on time. I figured you'd be late like Kakashi. Makoto said. I almost was. This old lady needed help with her bags of groceries, but luckily she lived close to the training ground. Naruto said, and Makoto's eye twitched. Okay. Like I said yesterday, I'm going to change up your training, but first I'm going to explain how the Sharingan works. Makoto said. Do I need to activate it? Naruto asked. Not yet. Now, what you have right now is the basic level of the Sharingan, but unlocking it at your age is simply unheard of. Your One-Tomo Sharingan gives you the instant ability to analyze things. It allows you to copy jutsu, imitate movements, and have faster perception. Makoto said. So it's kind of like a defensive tool right now? Naruto asked. Exactly. The next stage is the Two-Tomo Sharingan. It's the same as the One-Tomo Sharingan, but you get slightly enhanced vision that will allow you to see your opponent's moves slightly in advance. The third stage is when you have 3 Tomo in your Sharingan, and that's when it's fully matured. This version of the Sharingan enhances your vision to the max, allowing you to see your opponent's moves in advance so you can counter before they attack you. This version also gives you access to some Sharingan genjutsu as well. Makoto said, I get that and everything, but that seems pretty basic when you explain it like that. I was expecting more, and I already see a weakness in the Sharingan. Naruto said, what would that weakness be? Makoto asked, well, what if you fight somebody that doesn't really have a set movement for their attack? Wouldn't the Sharingan have a difficult time reading or predicting their attacks? Naruto asked, that's good, but it's not really a problem, which brings up my next point on your reaction timing and speed. The Sharingan will still slow down your opponent's movements no matter how fast they are, but just because the Sharingan can see and predict movements, it doesn't mean you'll be able to counter in time. If your body isn't conditioned enough, then you won't be able to dodge. Makoto said, so will you be training me in speed as well? Naruto asked, yes. I'm going to teach you every lesson of being a shinobi. I want to cover all areas before you go to the academy, so that way you won't have any weaknesses. Genjutsu, ninjutsu, taijutsu, kenjutsu, and some medical ninjutsu. When you graduate from the academy, I want you to be able to take on most Chunin level shinobi we have in the village. Makoto said, this is going to, isn't it? Naruto asked, of course it is, but I'm sure you can handle it. Now, lesson number 1 today is going to be your chakra control. First, I want you to take a leaf from the tree. Makoto said, and he did as told. What kind of lesson needs a leaf? Naruto asked. This is called the leaf concentration practice. What you need to do is place that leaf on your forehead, and I want you to keep it there using your chakra. The purpose of this exercise is to hone your concentration and to keep your mind from becoming distracted. This is usually taught at the academy, but I'm getting you started early. Makoto said, cool. How else can I work on my chakra control? Naruto asked. Other ways are tree walking, which involves focusing a fixed amount of chakra to the bottom of your feet and using that to climb a tree without using your hands. If the stream of chakra is too weak, the user will lose their footing on the tree and fall off. If it is too strong, you will be pushed away from the tree, causing the tree to break around the point of contact and the user will fall. Then we have water walking, where you have to emit a constant stream of chakra from the bottom of your feet and using the repellent force to walk across the water's surface. This exercise is a lot more difficult to master than tree climbing because the amount of chakra that needs to be emitted changes constantly. After some practice with water walking, you'll be able to sort of skate across water and walk on water without even trying. Another practice which is more difficult is sand separation. Makoto said, sand separation? Naruto asked. You have 5 different colored sands in your hands and you have to use your chakra to separate them into piles of each color. Lady Tsunade created this one personally, and it's mainly used amongst those who are becoming medical ninja or wish to have a job at the hospital. Makoto said, cool. So, about the Sharingan again. I know you explained the first, second and third stages of it, but is that it? I mean, the way I've heard Fugaku talk about it, he made it seem like it's a lot more to it. I overheard him a few weeks ago saying the Sharingan is the ultimate defense of the Uchiha clan. I'm only 5 and I already pointed out a way to beat a Sharingan user. Naruto said, damn it, Fugaku. For the secrets of the Sharingan to supposedly be a clan secret, you sure do talk about it a lot. I suppose I should tell Naruto the final secret. Makoto thought, you're right, Naruto. There is more to the Sharingan and I'm going to tell you. However, this is a big secret, and since you're technically a part of the Uchiha clan now, you cannot tell anybody about this. Do you understand me? Makoto asked, and he detected the seriousness in her voice. Yes. Naruto said. Good. Now, the last thing I need to tell you about is the 4th stage of the Sharingan. It's known as the Mangekyo Sharingan and is extremely powerful. Makoto said and activated her Mangekyo Sharingan, Ryuchiha Mangekyo design. What does it do? Naruto asked. This version of the Sharingan gives you your own unique abilities, and as you can see, it changes the look of the Sharingan to a unique pattern. The drawback of the Mangekyo Sharingan is that you go blind the more you use it. Makoto said. I guess it should be expected though. How do you get it? Naruto asked. According to the Uchiha Stone Tablet, you must kill your best friend. Makoto said. Is there any other way? I mean, I don't have a best friend or anything, so there must be another way, right? Naruto asked. Yes, and it's how I unlocked mine. I didn't kill my best friend, as you can see, since Kushina is still alive. Makoto said. Then how did you unlock it? Naruto asked. It was during the Third Shinobi War. It was during the early stages of the war before Itachi even came into the picture. I was out with a platoon of shinobi to cover the east border of the Land of Fire. We were ambushed by Iowa shinobi and I witnessed all of my comrades die in front of me. At the time I didn't know what happened, but I just felt a wave of emotions followed by a tremendous boost in power, and I used that to wipe out the enemy before I passed out from exhaustion. I woke up in the Konoha hospital, and after that I've never fought again. I retired, and then 2 years later, Itachi was born, so I became a stay-at-home wife. It's funny you were born nearly a year after the was over with. Your mother was pregnant with you and your siblings during Minato's inauguration. Makoto said. So, other than the Nine Tails attack, that's why some people still seemed on edge. Naruto said. Exactly. Many comrades and loved ones were lost during the Third Shinobi War. A lot of people in the village are still trying to cope with their losses. I hope you never have to experience that kind of pain, but since you'll become a shinobi, I don't think it's unavoidable. Makoto said. I'll try my best to keep that from happening. Naruto said. Good. Just be careful if it does happen. If you do awaken your Mangekyo Sharingan, do not fall into the curse of hatred. Makoto said. What's that? Naruto asked. The Uchiha are people greatly devoted to love and friendship, yet we tend to conceal our more affectionate traits. When the object of our affection is lost, an Uchiha's love can instantaneously turn into hatred, leaving them more inclined to do anything and everything in their power to achieve their goals and show their own superiority, regardless of the consequences and repercussions of their actions. Since awakening the Mangekyo Sharingan usually happens when someone we love or someone we are extremely close to is taken away from us as a result of death, it can cause you to delve into darkness that utterly consumes you. Makoto said. Did you fall into the curse of hatred? Naruto asked. No. Instead of hatred I found love in Fugaku, and then Itachi was born. Love can always conquer hatred, but at the same time love can also be the cause of your hatred. It's a double-edged sword, and the curse of hatred isn't just limited to the Uchiha clan. It can happen to anybody. Makoto said. So, I should surround myself with loved ones to counteract the curse of hatred? Naruto asked. Yes. However, make sure it's genuine love. You don't have the Mangekyo Sharingan and you're not even close to having it, so you're safe for now. Makoto said, and he nodded. No problem. So, what does your Mangekyo Sharingan do? Naruto asked. I have an ability in my left eye called Amaterasu. The Amaterasu produces black flames at the focal point of my vision. Once created, the flames will not stop burning until my target is completely incinerated. The flames cannot be extinguished with water, the passage of time, or any other normal methods. Only I can put the flames out. I have the ability to control the shape of my flames in my right eye called Kagutsuchi. Makoto said. Wow. Naruto said. Enough about my abilities. Let's start training. I want you to start by doing the leaf balancing exercise for an hour and then give me 20 laps around the training field. After that we'll work on your shuriken jutsu followed by your taijutsu and your chakra control by doing the tree climbing exercise. Makoto said. Okay. Naruto said. Naruto sat on the ground, then placed the leaf on his forehead and started to concentrate chakra into the leaf to make it stay. While he was doing that, Makoto was patiently watching him perform the technique when out of the corner of her eye, she noticed a small wolf pup walk over to him and lay next to him. The pup tried many times to break his concentration, succeeding a few times making Makoto chuckle at this, and when the hour went by, Naruto was fully able to concentrate on the leaf while petting the wolf pup. Once he was finished with that, he quickly began his 20 laps around the training ground and the wolf pup was running right along with him. I see you have a new friend. Makoto said. I guess. Naruto said, and the wolf yipped before running away. Okay. Now, it's time for your taijutsu training. I'll be teaching you the Uchiha fighting style. Makoto said, and the wolf returned with a scroll in its mouth. He's back. Naruto said and took the scroll. What is it? Makoto asked. It's a taijutsu style that I've never seen before. Naruto said and showed her the scroll. Huh. It looks like a mixture of styles that combine speed, power and evasiveness. Looks like you'll have your own taijutsu style to learn. At best all I can do is make sure you have the stances correct and help fix them. We'll have a spar at the end of each month to see your progress. Let's get started. Makoto said. 1 year later. A year later Naruto was still training with Makoto and he showed some progress. His weakness was putting more power into his punches as well as his chakra control, but Makoto managed to straighten both of those out. He was very good at his taijutsu style his wolf pup gave him. Kenjutsu was like second nature to him, and not surprising he had a knack for fuinjutsu as well. His Sharingan training with Makoto paid off as he now had 2 tomo in both of his eyes and he was only 6. Makoto did start his ninjutsu lessons like she promised, but despite him knowing his chakra natures, she still wouldn't allow him to learn any jutsu yet. He has earth, lightning and fire chakra natures. Her reasoning was that she wanted him to have complete control over his chakra natures before learning anything, so he was always working on perfecting them by doing different exercises for each chakra nature. His relationship with his family hasn't improved at all and he didn't really care. Menma and Narumi became even more bratty and arrogant. At first he didn't mind their attitudes, but once they started to get everything they wanted, he distanced himself from his entire family. Others were quick to point out that he carried himself like Kakashi a bit, having a bit of an aloof look on his face, but being very aware of his surroundings. Kids from the other clans didn't really interest him for now, but he'd stay open to being friends with certain ones in the future. He was now at the academy and did not hear a single word that his father said in his speech because he was once again reading a book. Naruto, were you paying attention? Makoto asked. No. Naruto replied bluntly. You're in the class with all clan heirs and a few civilians. Room 110 on the first floor. Can you at least try to make some friends? Makoto asked. I'd rather not, but I know you'd make me train to the point of complete exhaustion and I'd rather you didn't. So, I'll try to make some friends. Are you happy now? Naruto asked, as he turned the page and she smacked him upside the head. Do not get smart with me. I will train you so hard that you'd wish you were a civilian. Makoto whispered. What's so bad about that? Naruto asked and he just sighed. Nothing. Just get to class. Makoto said. Alright, before we start class for the day, we're gonna have a spar with all of the students to see where they are currently. Minato said. He just wants to show off Menma and Narumi. Naruto mumbled. Be nice. Makoto said. Yeah. Naruto said and Makoto smacked him on the head again. I'm serious. Makoto said. I know. I'm just playing. See, I can be fun. Naruto said and his eye dangerously twitched. You managed to piss me off more than Kushina and that's hard to do. Hurry up and go before I add chakra to the next slap. Makoto said and Naruto quickly left. Damn kid. Makoto thought. Academy training area. The fights weren't impressive in Naruto's eyes and that was saying something since he wasn't even paying attention to them. The worst fight was between 2 girls named Ino and Sakura who happened to be Sasuke's biggest fangirls. The fight was so bad that Minato hung his head in shame at those 2 and signaled the instructor Iruka to quickly end the fight. Next up was a fight between Shikamaru and his chubby friend Choji, which ended quickly because Shikamaru was too lazy to fight and Choji refused to fight his friend. Sasuke, Narumi and Menma all fought civilians, which of course they won. Minato, Kushina, Jiraiya and Tsunade who were watching were all proud of Narumi and Menma. Alright, next up we have Kiba Inuzuka versus Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Iruka said. Oh yeah, Kiba said, and they both went to the aspiring ring. Remember, this is just a spar to see where you're at. Make the unison sign. Iruka, you're going down, loser. Kiba said, as they made the sign and Naruto just kept reading his book. Alright, begin. Iruka said. Kiba instantly rushed at Naruto who smoothly moved out of the way and tripped Kiba, making him go face first into the ground. Kiba stood back up, but Naruto was already in front of him and his fist connected to Kiba's jaw, stunning him. Naruto followed it up with a spinning kick to the stomach, knocking the wind out of Kiba and then kicked him out of the ring. Winner. Naruto. Iruka said. Well, I expected more from the Inuzuka clan's potential next leader. Naruto said, and Kiba angrily stood up. I want a rematch. Kiba said. I don't want to. Naruto said and walked away. Alright, that's the last spar for the day. You all did great. Some better than others and some a lot better than others, but that's okay. The Ninja Academy lasts for 7 years, and by the time you all graduate, I'm sure you'll be way ahead of your current level. Minato said. What about training? Kiba asked. You can still train. While the academy will teach you things, I'm sure most of you who come from clans will want to learn clan techniques, and that's fine. To counteract this, those who come from a civilian family and want to become a ninja, you will be given access to the shinobi section of the library with access to all E or D ranked ninjutsu. In 2 years, the children who come from clans will be given access to the library where everyone can learn up to AC ranked jutsu. Iruka said. What if we already know AC ranked jutsu? Menma asked. Can you properly use it? Iruka asked. No, he cannot properly use it and he knows that. Kushina said, and Menma held his head down. Can I bring Akamaru to school? Kiba asked. Who's that? Iruka asked. He's my companion. Kiba said. If he's going to be joining you on missions, I don't see why not. Inuzuka clan members specialize in cooperation ninjutsu with their ninja hounds, so it's acceptable. Minato said. Awesome. Kiba said, and Akamaru barked. Alright, everyone go on inside and class will get started. Iruka said, and all the kids ran inside except Naruto. Naruto. Minato said, and Naruto didn't respond. Hey, don't ignore your father. Kushina said and went to grab Naruto, but she went straight through him. Clone jutsu already? Tsunade asked, and Naruto faded away. No, it was a genjutsu. Jiraiya said. At his age, he's only 6. Tsunade said. Well, he is being trained by somebody who specializes in genjutsu. It shouldn't be that much of a surprise. Minato said. Maybe we should start adding him into the training with Menma and Narumi. He's obviously skilled and, dare I say, better than them. Kushina said. No. Jiraiya said. Excuse me. Kushina asked. Naruto shouldn't train with them. He's obviously a prodigy. Taking after Minato and adding him into the mix, showing off his skills, could possibly push them to the side we don't want them on. Naruto needs to be kept away from them at all times until their training is finished. Jiraiya said. Then I'll train him on my own. Kushina said. Did you forget that you're needed in case they lose control of the Nine Tails chakra? Jiraiya asked. Did you forget that you were a seal master just like Minato? Did you forget that you can suppress the Nine Tails chakra with a seal? Did you forget Tsunade can also help suppress the Nine Tails chakra? Oh, and did you also forget that Naruto is my firstborn child? Just because you have Minato wrapped around your finger when it comes to their training doesn't mean I have to be. Neither of them show any skills in Fuinjutsu or Kenjutsu. They're both ninjutsu and taijutsu specialists. It's been a full year and they still struggle with the leaf balancing exercise. Kushina said. You're abandoning Narumi and Menma for Naruto. Should I remind you that he hasn't been around at all? We barely know anything about him. Jiraiya said. Wrong. You barely know anything about him. I know he likes to read. I know he's allergic to seafood and that's why he's never around when it's Narumi's turn to pick dinner. I know he enjoys sitting on the roof at night and just gaze at the stars in the sky. I also know he doesn't have friends because thanks to Menma and Narumi they either isolate him from activities or their parents tell them to stay away. I also know that there's a chance this whole prophecy is about him instead of Menma and Narumi. Kushina said, how could you even think that? Narumi and Menma have the power of the Nine Tails. Jiraiya said, yes, and Naruto has the soul of the Nine Tails. You don't think the Nine Tails has a tiny bit of power that Naruto can use? Kushina asked. It doesn't. Naruto said, as he appeared. When did he get here? Minato thought. See. That's the answer to your question. The prophecy is about Menma and Narumi. Jiraiya said, will you let me finish? I have some information that I'm sure all of you would love to know. Naruto said, talk. Jiraiya said, not yet. I want a couple of things first for this information and trust me when I say that it's very important. Naruto said, what do you want? Minato asked, I want some beginner levels of Fuinjutsu. I want school 4 days a week instead of 5. I want a shinobi library card for ninjutsu, but I won't use them in the academy until I'm allowed, and I want training ground 31 strictly off limits to anybody except for me and Makoto until I graduate. Naruto said, forget it. Jiraiya said, I wasn't talking to you, pervert. I was talking to the yellow flash. Naruto said, Minato, you seriously can't even consider thinking about accepting that. No offense, but what information could a 6-year-old have that you would want? Tsunade said, Naruto, if you had to rank the secrets you have, where would you put them? Minato asked. S rank. Naruto said, and Minato set up a barrier so nobody could hear them. I'll hear you out, and if I find what you have to be worthy of the S rank status, then you have a deal. Minato said, good enough for me. First things first, the Nine Tails. I knew about the Nine Tails a few weeks before you finally told Menma and Narumi. Naruto said, how? We didn't tell you. Minato said, well, one night I was on my way home and I was nearly beaten to death by the villagers. Makoto saved my life and gave me a blood transfusion. Anyway, during that time I was out, I talked to the Nine Tails who shared a lot of interesting information. Naruto said, like what? Minato asked. Did you know that Hashirama is the cause of all of our wars? Naruto asked. That's a lie. My grandfather did no such thing. Tsunade said. Did he or did he not capture all of the tailed beasts and give them to the other villages who use them as weapons for war? Naruto asked. Well, yes. However, they were too dangerous to be left out in the open. Tsunade said. Wrong. The tailed beasts only attacked Hashirama when he went to capture them. The Nine Tails I can understand, but both attacks on Konoha weren't his fault. Both times he attacked the village he was controlled by Madara Uchiha and whoever ripped him out of Mom. Naruto said. You know? Kushina asked. Yup. Now, this is something huge. There are now 2 Nine Tails Jinchuriki in the village. Naruto said. How? The Nine Tails was split up into 3 parts. Minato said. True, but the 3rd Hokage messed up during the sealing process and the Nine Tails soul and body no longer resides in me. Naruto said and lifted his shirt to prove a point. There's no seal. Kushina thought, as she placed her chakra-enhanced palm on his stomach to make the seal appear. The soul of the Nine Tails split up into 2 souls and went to where his power resides. Now don't mistake this as having 2 Nine Tails at full power, because you don't. Each Nine Tails is only half of the full thing. You're actually lucky the Nine Tails soul and body no longer resides in me. Naruto said. How so? Jiraiya asked. If you kept forcing Menma and Narumi to draw out the Nine Tails chakra, they would have gone on a rampage. All you were really doing was weakening the seal, and if you pushed them hard enough, the full power of the Nine Tails without the median of the souls and body would have gone on a rampage until the 2 of them died. The Nine Tails being in them now actually helps them. Naruto said. So, we were pretty much killing Menma and Narumi? Kushina asked. Basically. Naruto said, as he nonchalantly flipped a page in his book. What else do you know? Minato asked. I know that guy Danzo wants me to join him. Naruto said. How do you know Danzo? Kushina asked. He approached me at our 5th birthday after I unlocked my chakra. I didn't say anything because Makoto handled it and had him running away. Even during this past year, Makoto had to cast a wide range of genjutsu over Training Ground 31 so he can stop sending his personal Anbu to spy on me. Naruto said. Why didn't you tell us? Kushina asked. We didn't exactly have the best relationship a year ago and I wouldn't get anything in return for this information until now. Naruto said. Minato, what do you think? Kushina asked and Minato stared at Naruto. Is there anything else? Minato asked. Yeah, I have the ability to sense danger from the 9 tails. It doesn't work hours in advance like an actual animal does, but it works a few seconds before a tragedy happens. First time it happened was when some kids tried throwing rocks at me when I was 3. Last time it happened was during the monthly spars I have with Makoto for my training. Naruto said. Okay. You have a deal. Minato said. Sweet. Now, can you lower the barrier? It wouldn't be a good look to be late for class. Naruto said. Hang on a second. I'll personally take you to class, but first answer this. How strong are you really? I noticed you didn't even try against Kiba. Minato said. Stronger than a 3-year academy student, but weaker than a genin is what Makoto last told me. Naruto said. Alright, I'll take you to the classroom. Minato said and dropped the barrier. I'll be fine. Naruto said and walked away. Do you believe him? Tsunade asked. Yeah, just to be on the safe side, I want to check their seals later. Minato said. There's no need to. Kushina said. Why not? Minato asked. I just checked his stomach for the seal and it's gone. That would explain why their seal was glowing and causing them pain last year. The seal wasn't failing, the 9-tails soul was being absorbed into their seals. Kushina said. If that's the case then their training should go a lot easier now. Jiraiya said. Not really. Kushina said. What do you mean? Naruto just said with the 9 tails there, the chakra won't come rushing out. Tsunade said. Yes, but Naruto was never a Jinchuriki of the 9 tails with his power. The 9 tails can either force its way out of the seal if they draw on its chakra or fight them when they're trying to draw its chakra. Their training needs to be even more delicate, especially with Menma. Narumi has the ability to use small chakra chains for now to help counteract the 9 tails chakra a bit, but Menma doesn't have that. Kushina said. She's right. We'll have to slow down their training a bit for now until they get older. Minato said. Kushina, are you still going to help us? Jiraiya asked. I never said I'd stop. I said I'll start helping Naruto as well, and now that I know he has an interest in Fuinjutsu I'm really going to help him. Now, don't ask me again. Kushina said. I'm just checking. They need to be on our side for the prophecy to happen in a good way and not a bad way. Jiraiya said. I understand that, but I am not going to neglect one of my children just because 2 of them may or may not be the child of prophecy told by some old toad who can't even remember your name. Kushina said. Classroom. After having his talk with Minato, Naruto was walking through the halls on his way to class when he stopped to help a teacher who dropped some papers. After helping the teacher, he found himself having to go back around the hallway because when he helped with the papers, the teacher's classroom was on the other side of the school. He finally made it to the classroom and entered with Iruka looking angry at him. Naruto, class started almost 3 hours ago. Where have you been? Iruka asked. Funny story. On my way here I had to stop and talk to the Hokage about something important. On my way here I had to stop and help a teacher with the papers she dropped, so I helped take them to her classroom. On the way here I realized her room was on the other side of the school and I had to take the long way around to get here. Naruto said, and Iruka just looked at him. Great. Looks like I found the Kakashi of the group. At least he has some sort of personality. Iruka thought and sighed. Don't make it a habit. Go have a seat in the back next to Hinata. Iruka said. Who's that? Naruto asked and Iruka pointed her out. She's the girl with the hoodie on in the back. Iruka said and Naruto nodded then sat down. Hi, Naruto. Hinata quietly said and blushed. Oh hey. Naruto said and put his head down. Hey, Narumi. Isn't he your brother? Ino asked. Yeah, why? Narumi asked. He's kind of cute. Ino said. I thought you liked Sasuke. Narumi said. Oh I do and he will be mine. Ino said. In your dreams, pig. He's mine. Sakura said. He's mine. Ino said and they started to argue. Stupid Naruto. Hinata's my girl. Not yours. Menma thought and threw a pencil at Naruto, but was shocked when Naruto caught it. Better luck next time. Naruto said and put his head back down. Show off. Kiba mumbled. This is going to be a long 7 years. Naruto thought. A year has passed since Naruto entered the academy and since he didn't care for attention he quickly settled for being average in the class. It was forgotten that he was the strongest student in the academy due to his lack of grades and him not showing up on the days they had to spar to show their skills, but he didn't care. He made an attempt to find friends, but everyone hung out with Menma and Narumi or they simply used him to become friends with them. Menma and Narumi, they both quickly made it known they were the popular kids in school and had their own group of followers including some teachers who wanted to be in the Hokage's good graces. Narumi became the leader of her group of friends consisting of Ino Yamanaka, heiress to the Yamanaka clan and Sakura Haruno, a pink-haired girl from one of the wealthiest civilian families in the Leaf Village. Menma had his own little group of friends that he hung out with and was apparently the leader. Kiba Inuzuka, Shikamaru Nara, the heir to the Nara clan and laziest person in the class. Last but not least, Choji Akamichi, heir to the Akamichi clan and Shikamaru's best friend. Wherever Shikamaru went, Choji went. Naruto was in a group all by himself and isolated from everybody else, even the teachers, who were neutral whenever he showed up to class. One teacher he specifically didn't like was Mizuki and he kept his guard up around him. He only had problems with one person other than Menma and that was Sasuke Uchiha, which was completely one-sided on Sasuke's part. After 6 months of the academy, Sasuke stumbled upon Makoto training Naruto and threw a fit accusing Makoto of betraying the clan. He challenged Naruto to a fight and it was quicker than what Naruto did to Kiba for the sole reason being that Sasuke disrespected Makoto in front of him. His training for the past year went well. Makoto finally got around to teaching him some ninjutsu for his chakra natures and regular ninjutsu. She taught him 3 earth ninjutsu. Earth style, earthquake slam, earth style, mud wall and earth style, headhunter jutsu. She taught him 3 fire ninjutsu. Fire style, fireball jutsu, fire style, flaming meteors and fire style, dragon flame caterwall. For his lightning chakra nature he knew lightning ball, lightning beast, twin lightning beast, electromagnetic murder, thunderclap arrow and lightning clone. His taijutsu was nearly at the level of a low genin and Makoto told him he'd be at least Chunin level taijutsu wise when the academy ended if he kept on pace. Their spars at the end of each month were what really helped him and she was impressed each time they did have a spar. His fuinjutsu was going great since he had Kushina helping him and his kenjutsu was also coming along great thanks to both of them helping him out. His genjutsu was strong and Makoto helped him use genjutsu with or without his Sharingan. His Sharingan fully matured within the year thanks to Makoto's training and it was still only improving the more he trained with her. She started to make him wear leg weights while he trained and without the weights he was genin level in speed. Eventually once he was good enough in his fuinjutsu, Makoto would allow him to place resistance seals on his body to help him train. The relationship with his family hasn't gotten any better and he wasn't really trying. Kushina was close with him thanks to them bonding and talking during his training. Kushina then learned how much Naruto appreciates Makoto and that he considers her his second mother. He still didn't tell Kushina about his Sharingan as he wanted to keep it a secret until his training was over with. Minato hasn't really spoken to him because he was either in the office all the time or he was busy training Menma and Narumi. Speaking of them, Menma and Narumi became even brattier and spoiled if that was even possible, which was a major reason he didn't bother to interact with them. He wasn't a big fan of the spoiled bratty type of people and kept his distance from them. They always managed to bother him and they would just get angry, especially Menma when Naruto would just pull a book out with a blank look on his face before walking away. He was never close with Jiraiya or Tsunade, but Tsunade was never really around when he was home and he just had a feeling Jiraiya hated him. However, when he finally met Tsunade's student, Shizune, they developed a friendship of sorts. Naruto told Shizune that he was interested in some medical ninjutsu and she's been secretly helping him learn medical ninjutsu. At first she was skeptical due to him being an Uzumaki having large chakra reserves for his age, but that changed when she learned he has great chakra control despite having large chakra reserves. While he was still growing in his training, he picked up on the fact that Makoto would sometimes leave early, not show up, give him multiple days off from training, and she wouldn't be paying attention during their spars because she would leave her guard open, giving him multiple chances to strike. When he went over to the Uchiha district, which he regularly did, he noticed everyone in the clan was on edge and looked ready to snap at the slightest thing. He also noticed a lack of Shisui around the village and noticed Itachi seemed to be different for some reason. While he was home one day, Minato had a private meeting with Fugaku and he decided to eavesdrop on the meeting. Things started off great, but tension started to rise the longer the meeting went and Fugaku was not pleased with the way things are for the clan. Fugaku didn't go into detail, but Naruto saw him walk out and Minato had a worried yet frustrated look on his face. Right now, Naruto was at Training Ground 31 waiting for Makoto to show up and start his training. The wolf pup that has been following Naruto around was laying next to a tree while Naruto did the leaf balancing exercise with multiple leaves on his body and did the tree climbing exercise at the same time. He's been doing this for 2 hours and Makoto finally showed up. "You're late," Naruto said, as he climbed down from the tree. "I'm allowed to be late," Makoto said and tried to laugh it off, but Naruto wasn't buying it. "Yeah, you're allowed to be late once in a while, but you've been late every day for the past 3 months or not showing up." "What's going on?" Naruto asked. "Nothing at all," Makoto said. "You're lying," Naruto said. "Excuse me," Makoto asked. "You heard me. I'm not some stupid kid who can't see what's going on around this village." The Uchiha clan are clearly angered by something given that Fugaku left Minato with a worried and frustrated look on his face. Naruto said, "You shouldn't worry about it." Makoto said, "Like you said, I'm pretty much a part of the Uchiha clan and I should know what's going on." "Does this have anything to do with Shisui suddenly disappearing?" Naruto asked. "Training is cancelled for today," Makoto said and turned around to leave only to catch a kunai aimed at the back of her head. "Training might be cancelled, but our conversation is not," Naruto said. "You better watch yourself," Makoto said. "Why? Are you just going to leave me to train on my own? It's not like you haven't been doing that. Some sensei you are," Naruto said and Makoto kicked him into a tree. "I said that's enough," Makoto said and Naruto landed on the tree. "Why is the Uchiha clan so on edge? Don't tell me it's nothing because I sneezed in the Uchiha clan district looking for you and I nearly had my head taken off by a member of the Uchiha police force until they realized it was me." Shisui is gone. Fugaku gets into a shouting match with Minato and Itachi is acting differently. "The fact that you've been saying you had a clan meeting so many times this past year, but I haven't been able to locate this meeting tells me something bad is going on," Naruto said and Makoto just looked at him before she sighed. "Naruto, listen, you're a very smart boy and nobody can tell me otherwise. Yes, there is something going on and Shisui disappearing does have something to do with it, but the less you know the better. I'm only doing this for your own good," Makoto said. "You said I was like your son since your blood runs through my veins as well. I have just as much as a right to know like anybody else in the Uchiha clan." Clearly there's tension between the village and the Uchiha clan, but Shisui's disappearance couldn't be the main cause of it since this has been going on long before he disappeared. Just tell me what's going on, Naruto said, and she sighed before writing something down on paper. Read this and burn it when you're done, Makoto said and gave him the piece of paper. What is it? Naruto asked. Just read it, Makoto said, and he read the paper quite a few times before burning it. Why is he willing to go so far? Naruto asked. I don't know, but not everyone in the clan is for that idea, Makoto said. Are you for the plan? Naruto asked. No, but I keep up the act for Fugaku being my husband. This is what's going on, and I hope you understand why everything has been off lately, Makoto said. I do, but doesn't Fugaku understand that your clan is outnumbered? Minato can take out that entire clan by himself if it came to that. We all know what he did during the Third Shinobi War, Naruto said. I know, and hopefully it doesn't come to that. In the meantime, I want you to work on your taijutsu and fuinjutsu with Kushina, Makoto said and gave him a scroll. What's this? Naruto asked. It's the Shunshin Jutsu that you've been asking about for the last 6 months. I was going to teach it to you today, but I'm needed at the clan estate, Makoto said. When will we have training again? Naruto asked. I don't know. Hopefully soon, but Kushina should be around to help you as well, Makoto said. She only helps with my kenjutsu and fuinjutsu. She doesn't know about my other skills, Naruto said. Then perhaps you should show her what you can do. Take care of yourself, Naruto, Makoto said and poked his forehead before leaving. Well, I guess it's just you and me, Naruto said, and the wolf just looked at him before going to sleep. Never mind, Naruto thought. Later that night, after training himself into the ground for about 7 hours, Naruto finally realized that it was late at night and he should get home. He packed up all of his stuff he had around and noticed the wolf pup was already gone, so he left in a puff of smoke. He decided to take the rooftops since he was very good at that now, and on his way home he heard a scream for help in the Uchiha district. Despite Makoto telling him not to come to the Uchiha clan district, he was an Uzumaki and he was quite hard-headed sometimes. Naruto made it to the Uchiha clan district and noticed that there was blood everywhere and bodies laying in the street. He checked the bodies for a pulse, but none of them had one, and he just went through the entire district. He found kids his age, teenagers, adults, and even elderly people on the ground dead. Each of them were stabbed through the heart or had their throats slit, and some even had their necks snapped. The one death that made him really skeptical about what was going on is the dead body of Izumi Uchiha. He noticed her hanging around Itachi and Shisui sometimes, but mainly Itachi. Naruto quickly made it to the Uchiha clan head house and noticed all of the lights were out just like every other house. He silently walked around the house looking for signs of anybody until he made it to a room that smelled like blood. He entered the room only to see both Makoto and Fugaku's bodies on the ground. He didn't care much for Fugaku, but seeing Makoto really hit hard. Makoto. Hey, come on, get up, Naruto said and shook her. Naruto. Why are you here? A voice asked, and he turned around to see Itachi covered in blood. Why'd you do it? She didn't even agree with the stupid plan, Naruto said and unintentionally activated his Sharingan, which shocked Itachi. The Sharingan. How? Itachi thought. I guess you know about the Uchiha revolt, Itachi said. Yeah, why'd you kill Makoto? You should have known she was against the plan and only kept up an act of agreeing with Fugaku, Naruto said. I did know she was against the plan. I came back to tell her Sasuke was only unconscious and that she could come out now. I did kill my father, Itachi said. Then who killed her? Naruto asked. A man in a mask helped me take them out and I would join his organization later, Itachi said. I thought you had more time, Naruto said. So did I, but the coup was sped up and it would have happened within the next few days. This was the only solution. Everyone else who was not in favor of the coup is still alive, Itachi said. No, they're not. They're dead and something else happened to them, Naruto said. What happened? Itachi asked. Somebody took their eyes, but not everyone was missing their eyes. Naruto said, I see. Naruto, how close were you with my mother? Itachi asked. She's the reason I have the Sharingan. She gave me a blood transfusion and the Sharingan awakened on my 5th birthday after I unlocked my chakra. Naruto said, how much did she tell you about the Sharingan? Itachi asked. A lot up to the Mangekyo Sharingan and its abilities, but also the blindness the Mangekyo causes. Naruto said, take her eyes. Itachi said, no, she's already dead. Naruto said, you don't understand. Take her eyes and in a few days return and go below the Naka Shrine. There's an underground bunker there with information on the Mangekyo Sharingan and the way to counteract the blindness. Take this vial and place my mother's eyes inside of it. You'll thank me later. Itachi said and gave him a vial. Why are you helping me? Aren't you a rogue ninja? Naruto asked. There is more to this situation than you'll understand currently. Just look after Sasuke for me. Itachi said and left in a flock of crows. Naruto looked at the vial in his hands and just sighed before kneeling down next to Makoto's body. He steeled his nerves and began removing her eyes carefully so he wouldn't damage them. While all of this was going on, he never noticed that he was crying and that it was the first time he's cried since he was a baby. When he was finished, he noticed a scroll fall out of Makoto's robe with his name on it, so he grabbed it and left just before the ambush showed up with Minato. Few hours later, word quickly spread around the village that the Uchiha clan was massacred and that Itachi was the one responsible for doing it, marking him in the bingo book as an S-rank rogue ninja. Naruto just walked around the entire village to clear his head and had no idea that Kushina was up all night worried about him and made a shadow clone to watch after Menma and Narumi while she went out to look for him without having any luck. Eventually he made it to his house where he just sat on the roof to look at the stars and just silently cried all night. He ignored the burning sensation in his eyes and passed it off as him being tired. He had no idea that his Mangekyo Sharingan had just awakened. Story cover. Eventually Naruto jumped down off of the roof when the sun came up the next day and went into the house only to be grabbed into a tight hug by Kushina. Naruto, where have you been? Are you hurt? Whose blood is this? Kushina asked. I'm fine, Naruto said and pulled away from her before going to his room. Was he there? Tsunade asked. Maybe. He's always going to the Uchiha clan district for Makoto. Kushina said. Yeah, that's because she likes him the most. Narumi said. Yeah, if she's such a great teacher, why wasn't he there to protect her? He's such a letdown and Aunt Makoto would be ashamed of him. Menma said. Menma, Kushina said and was about to walk up to him, but she stopped. Say it again. I dare you, Naruto said, as he appeared behind Menma with a kunai at his throat. Naruto, stop, Kushina said and grabbed his arm pulling him away. You heard me. If Aunt Makoto trained me instead then she'd still be alive. You're such a loser and I'm better than you. Menma said. Really? Let's go over some facts then. You as a ninja and you only excel in class because you only face civilians who have no training. Your taijutsu style is just wildly swinging, hoping to get lucky with a hit. Your chakra control S since you can't even do the leaf balancing exercise unlike Narumi and myself. You can't summon a tadpole, you don't know any ninjutsu that you can properly use outside of the substitution jutsu and you chase Hinata around like a lost puppy because you have a crush on her which she doesn't even realize because she doesn't like you. The only way you'll be better than me in a fight is if you use the Nine Tails chakra and you can't even do that properly. The only good thing about you is sealed inside of your gut, talentless brat. Naruto said and went up in lightning electrocuting Menma making him scream in pain. That was a lightning clone. Tsunade said and Minato appeared in the house. Hey, everybody. Minato said and sat down. Hey, honey. Kushina said, as she was taking care of Menma. What happened to Menma? Minato asked. Naruto got him with a lightning clone. Narumi said. He's home. Minato asked. Just got in right before you did. Tsunade said. Naruto. Come here for a minute. Kushina said and Naruto appeared in a puff of smoke. Yeah, Naruto said, and Minato looked at him. His eyes remind me of Kakashi after he found his father dead. Minato thought, are you going to keep staring at me? Naruto asked. Sorry. What's with the blood? Minato asked. It's not mine. Naruto said. Where did it come from? Minato asked. I think you already know. Naruto said. Why do you have to be so difficult? Tsunade asked. Why do you have to hide behind a genjutsu to hide how you really look? Naruto asked. Excuse me. Tsunade asked. You heard me. What do you want, Minato? I need to wash the blood off of me. Naruto said. Minato. Kushina thought. I just want to know where you've been all night. Minato said. Training. On the roof in the Uchiha district. Naruto said. What did you see? Minato asked. Dead bodies. What do you think I would see? Naruto asked. Do you know who did it? Minato asked. Everybody does. The entire village knows. Naruto said. Weren't you close with Itachi? Kushina asked. Something like that. Naruto said. Did you see anything else? Minato asked. Other than the fact that somebody was stealing their eyes, no. Naruto said. What do you mean, stealing their eyes? Tsunade asked. Just that. Somebody was stealing their eyes, but only some. Naruto said. It doesn't make sense. Why would Itachi take their eyes? Kushina asked. Itachi didn't take their eyes. The only people whose eyes he would need to take are either Sasuke's, Makoto's, and Fugaku's. Naruto said. Why would he need to take one of their eyes? Tsunade asked. Clan secret, and I'm afraid I can't tell you. You'd have to go to the clan head for that information. Naruto said. There is no clan head. Tsunade said. Yes, there is. Itachi is technically the clan head and he's a rogue ninja now. The only person who could tell you is Sasuke, but I doubt he even knows why Itachi would need his eyes. Naruto said. Then how do you know? Minato asked. Fugaku wouldn't shut up about the Sharingan and how great it was. That's how I know. I need to wash up. Anything else? Naruto asked. Yeah, how are you holding up? I've heard you and Makoto were really close. Minato asked, and Naruto just walked away. Too soon, Minato. Too soon. Kushina said. So, how'd the meeting go? Tsunade asked. The Uchiha district is off limits to everyone. Until Sasuke is 18 and able to take over as clan head, nobody is permitted to go there. Minato said. At best we should take their jutsus and distribute them between the clans. Tsunade said. Can't do that without the consent of the clan head. I could probably ask Sasuke, but right now isn't the right time since he's still not awake yet. Minato said. That, and he's an exact replica of his father attitude-wise. Should probably keep an eye on him. Kushina said. He'll be fine. Minato said. Yeah. Besides, your other son is the one we should look out for. Jiraiya said. When did you get here? Tsunade asked. I've been here. Jiraiya said. Why do you think we should watch Naruto? Kushina asked. He just put a kunai to Menma's throat and used a lightning clone on him. I hate to admit it, but your son might be a danger to this village. Jiraiya said. Wow. The big bad Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin, is afraid of a 7-year-old. Let's just clear the air right now because I'm really getting tired of you talking down about my son. You didn't say a word when Menma and Narumi would attack him before, but the moment he does something to them he's a danger to this village. Let me tell you something, and I swear if you interrupt me I'll chop off what barely makes you a man. First off, you don't like Naruto because you don't think he's the child of prophecy and he's not wrapped around your finger. Secondly, you look at Naruto and see something that you weren't until you were starting puberty, and that's a shinobi in training with actual skill. Thirdly, you're mad because Naruto is more skilled than his siblings despite them being trained by 5 of the best shinobi in this village, and it frustrates you that he's embarrassing your children of prophecy. Grow up. Kushina said. We're stronger than him. We've grown a lot in the last year. Narumi said. Yeah, we can take him. Menma said. You couldn't beat Naruto unless you were able to tap into the Nine Tails chakra, and given the way you approach your training, you're not even close to being able to handle a small portion of the Nine Tails chakra, Menma. Kushina said. Oh yeah, what would you know? You're not a Jinchuriki. Menma said. Let's see. I was the second Nine Tails Jinchuriki, held the Nine Tails for over a decade until it was ripped out of me. I have used the Nine Tails chakra before, but unlike you, I had my own strength to rely on and didn't need to use it. Think before you speak next time before I take that Nine Tails out of you and see how strong you'd be without it. Kushina said, and Menma just scoffed. You wouldn't do that. I'd die if you took out the Nine Tails. Menma said, and then he was wrapped up in chakra chains. Little boy, I am a damn Uzumaki and we specialize in Fuinjutsu. If you think I can't take that Nine Tails out of you and transfer it to Narumi who can actually use some of the Nine Tails chakra, then you've got me confused with somebody else. Watch your damn mouth and go get ready for school. Kushina said and dropped Menma. He's lucky that's all she did. Tsunade thought and Minato just coughed. There's no school today. I cancelled it. Minato said. Fine. Menma, you can spend all day sorting through my kunai and shuriken sets. I want them ordered by condition from pristine all the way down to why do I even have them still. If I so much as see one of them out of place, I'll mix them up and have you start over again. Kushina said. I don't want to. Menma said. I didn't ask if you did or didn't. Now go. Kushina yelled, as her hair split into 9 pieces and Menma ran away. A bit harsh, don't you think? Jiraiya asked. No. This is all of your fault for letting them act however they want to when you're training them. Get it together. Kushina said and walked away. What's gotten into her? Jiraiya asked. Her best friend was killed last night and she thought one of her children was killed as well. I hope you didn't expect her to be in a better mood. Tsunade said. What about my training? Narumi asked. You're with me today. Chakra control and taijutsu. Tsunade said. Aw man. Narumi said. Outside. Tsunade yelled and Narumi ran away. Please don't kill her. Minato said. She'll only wish she was dead. Tsunade said and went outside. 6 years later. It's been 6 years since the Uchiha massacre and 6 years since Naruto lost the only person he's ever cared about outside of Kushina. Naruto, who is now 13, was finally about to graduate from the Shinobi Academy. In terms of strength, Naruto was as strong as a Chunin-level shinobi due to him constantly training over the years and was easily the strongest in his class. His taijutsu was mid-Chunin level and possibly better, but he only fought with his restriction seals on which he forgot about. His ninjutsu was Jonin level, genjutsu was possibly the best in the village thanks to his Sharingan, kenjutsu was high Chunin, medical ninjutsu was low Chunin and his fuinjutsu was better than most Anbu members thanks to Kushina helping him. Danzo still wanted Naruto on his side, so every time Naruto was by himself, Danzo would appear and try to force him into his Anbu, but Naruto easily declined every single time. Naruto found out about his own Mangekyo Sharingan about a year after he actually awakened it when Danzo sent some of his Anbu to capture him and none of them made it back. After he used his Mangekyo to fend off the root Anbu sent to capture him, Naruto went to the Naka shrine and read the Uchiha stone tablet's contents on the Mangekyo Sharingan, which informed him of why Itachi wanted him to take Makoto's eyes. His Mangekyo abilities were Koto Amatsukami in both eyes, Tsukuyomi in his left eye, and in his right eye he had an ability that he named Time Skip since he skips time for 1/10 of a second, and in that limited time he is able to move freely. He uses that on opponents a lot stronger than him only since he can use that to deliver powerful blows to their body before they even realize it. Despite him knowing all of his abilities and the fact that the Susanoo was next, he didn't really use his Mangekyo that much because he didn't have anybody he really trusted to swap his eyes. He was close with Shizune a bit, but she was always out of the village with Tsunade and he didn't care for Tsunade enough to trust her with the operation. Naruto's relationship with his family was awkward to say the least and Minato nearly forgot he even existed. Kushina over the years grew really close with Naruto and unknown to her she kept him from turning completely into Kakashi with her antics. The thing for her was when she finally managed to make Naruto smile a bit since he never really did it. Naruto cared for his mother a lot and it showed when he beat up a drunk villager who tried to grope Kushina when he was 11 years old. Menma and Narumi were the golden heroes of the village, so they thought they were better than everybody, but Narumi over the past 6 years was somewhat close to Naruto as she matured quite a bit the older she got. Menma on the other hand was the complete opposite and developed a deeper hatred for Naruto. Right now, he was waiting for his turn to get his headband and officially become a ninja. The door opened revealing the instructor that they have had since they started the academy 6 years ago, Iruka Yumino. He wore his hair in a ponytail, wore the standard Chunin uniform and had a scar over his nose. At first he didn't like Naruto, but then had a change of heart last year and even tried to befriend Naruto, but Naruto wasn't exactly one to become friends with teachers. Naruto, you're up, Iruka said. Naruto followed him to the exam room and came face to face with Minato, Jiraiya and the other Chunin instructor, Mizuki. The looks on their faces were each different from the other. While Minato had a proud yet ashamed look on his face, Mizuki had a hateful look in his eyes which Naruto easily picked up on, and Jiraiya had a blank look on his face since Naruto blatantly disrespected him every chance he got, which angered Jiraiya. If this little staring contest is over, can we get this over with? Naruto asked. Yeah, you have to make any type of clone, do the substitution jutsu, the transformation jutsu and 1 or 2 other jutsus you've learned on your own. Minato said. 1 or 2 jutsus I know. Since when was that part of the test? Naruto asked. It's only for the children that come from a clan since they're supposed to be more advanced. Minato said. Too easy. Naruto said. Then perform the jutsus. You're the last one of the day. We have more important things to do than sit here. Jiraiya said. Shut up. Pathetic old man. Naruto said. He went on to do the substitution jutsu, shadow clone jutsu and transformation jutsu. For his final 2 jutsus, he decided to do a couple of B-rank jutsus. Fire style. Dragon flame bomb. He breathed fire from his mouth and manipulated the flames into the shape of a dragon and divided them to strike the target from the left, right, and front all at once. He stopped the jutsu before it could cause any damage and then went to his next jutsu. Lightning flash. Naruto threw a lightning-infused Fuma shuriken at the wall, and while Jiraiya and Minato expected it to stop, it kept rotating. Eventually they heard the faint sound of lightning and noticed the electrical current that was being channeled into the shuriken before Naruto cancelled the jutsu. Where did you learn that lightning jutsu? Minato asked. I made it up. Naruto said. Stop lying. You're talented, but you're only 13 and I highly doubt you could come up with something like that. Jiraiya said. Shut up, bitch. Naruto said. What did you call me? Jiraiya asked. Did I stutter? Do I need to learn how to speak Toad so you can understand me better? No, I don't. You heard me. Now, do as I said and shut up, bitch. Naruto said. He just walked up to Iruka and took the headband out of his hand before he left the room. He had an hour before teams were selected since he was the last person to get chosen for the exam. He was laying with his head down when somebody jumped on the desk in front of him. He looked up and saw Kiba staring him down. Can I help you? Naruto asked. You think you're so tough. I bet I can beat you. Kiba said, and Naruto sighed. Kiba, how many times have we fought in the last 6 years? Naruto asked. I don't know. Like over 50. Kiba said. How many times have I beaten you? Naruto asked. I don't know. Like over 50. Kiba said. Leave him alone, Kiba. You're never going to beat him. Narumi said. Besides, it takes someone with actual skill like myself to beat that loser anyway. Menma said. I highly doubt always using the 9 tails chakra counts as skill. Naruto said. You wanna go right now? Menma yelled, as he grabbed Naruto's shirt and Iruka walked in. Alright everyone, settle down. I have a list of teams for you. Now pay attention. Iruka said, and Menma released Naruto's shirt. He went through the first 6 teams and they were mainly civilian kids who didn't really pay attention. Naruto zoned out because of him not getting his name called. He was hoping to be on one of those teams, but he figured that now he would be with a bunch of people he doesn't even talk to. Alright, Team 7 is a bit odd and will consist of Sakura Haruno, Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze, Sasuke Uchiha, Menma Uzumaki Namikaze and Naruto Uzumaki. Your team will have 2 leaders, Kakashi Hatake and Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. Iruka said. Huh. Narumi said. Why does that weakling have to be on my team? Menma asked and pointed at Naruto. Last time I checked while Naruto purposely kept himself in the middle of the class, you were the dead last. You've challenged him 10 times over the last 6 years and you've lost every single time. Iruka said. I'm not on the same team as Naruto. Hinata sadly thought and looked at him. Stop looking at me. It's weird. Naruto said and Hinata shrieked before passing out. Anyway, the remaining teams are Team 8 and Team 10. Team 8 will be Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka and Hinata Hyuga. Kurenai Yuhi will be your Jonin instructor. Iruka said. A tracking team. Naruto thought. Team 10 being led by Asuma Sarutobi will be Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi and Ino Yamanaka. Iruka said. Aw man. How come I have to be on a team with Lazy Bones and Sir Eats a Lot? Sakura teamed up with Sasuke, Menma and Naruto. It's not fair. Ino said. It's because Konoha wants to keep the Ino Shika Cho legacy going. I don't understand how you didn't see that one coming. Narumi said. Let's trade. Ino said. All teams are final. You have 1 hour until your team leaders arrive. You're free to do whatever you want, but you must return in an hour to meet your team leaders. Iruka said and left. Should we all go out for lunch as a class? Who knows when we'll be able to get together for something again? Narumi said. I'm down. Ino said. I'm in. Sakura said. Let's do it. Choji said and they all got up. Sasuke, are you coming? Sakura asked. HN. Sasuke said and reluctantly got up as Menma grabbed him. Of course he is. Menma said and Sasuke glared at him. What about you, Naruto? Are you coming? Narumi asked and he was already gone. I'll take that as a no. Sakura said. Come on, Hinata. We're going out for lunch. Narumi said, as she shook her. I got her. Kiba said and picked her up. What does she even see in that loser? I'm the head of the Namikaze clan. She should be in love with me. Menma thought. 1 hour later. Man, that lunch was great. Ino said. Tell me about it. I'm just glad you and Sakura didn't fight over who sat next to Sasuke. Narumi said. That's because we both sat next to him. Ino said. Right. So, what do you think our first missions will be? Narumi asked. Maybe we'll get to save a prince or something. Sakura said. Or a princess. Menma said. It's obvious I'll be the person you call on if you're in danger. Kiba said and puffed out his chest. The only thing we'll call you for is if we catch fleas, Kiba. Ino said. Hey. Kiba said and then somebody was thrown through the door. I said we weren't going to be late. Kushina yelled, as she stood over Kakashi. Oh no. Narumi said. Good luck. Ino whispered. Alright. Team 7 let's go. We're heading to the rooftop. Kakashi said. Where's Naruto? Kushina asked. I don't know. Narumi said. He must have realized he's not cut out to be a ninja. Menma said. Menma. Shut up. Narumi said. Let's go. I'll deal with him later. Kushina said and Team 7 left. Rooftop. So, let's introduce ourselves. Kushina said. What do you mean? We already know each other. Sakura said. You know. Your likes, dislikes and dreams for the future. Kakashi. You go first. Kushina said. Alright. My name is Kakashi Hatake. My likes and dislikes, I don't feel like telling you. My dreams for the future, never really thought about it. Kakashi said. Well, I'm Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. My likes are my family and ramen. I dislike perverts, rapists and liars. My dream for the future is to see all of my children happy and succeed in life. Kushina said. Sakura, you're next. Kakashi said, okay. I'm Sakura Haruno. What I mean the person I like. Squeal my dream for the future squeal. Sakura said, what do you dislike? Kakashi asked. Eno pig. Sakura yelled. Should have seen that coming. Kushina thought. Sasuke, you're next. Kakashi said, my name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate a lot of things and I don't particularly like anything. What I have is not a dream because I will make it a reality. I'm going to restore my clan and destroy a certain someone. Sasuke said, it's like looking at Fugaku all over again. Kushina thought, okay. Narumi, you're up next. Kushina said, I'm Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze. I like ramen, training and sometimes gossip. My dislikes, well, I don't really have any dislikes. I mean, I used to dislike Naruto, but I grew up and got over it. My dream is to become the strongest kunoichi in history and possibly Hokage. Narumi said, I'm Menma Uzumaki Namikaze. I like ramen and training. My dislikes are that loser Naruto who I hate with every fiber in my body and anybody who tries to mess with me. My dream is to become Hokage and be the strongest ninja ever. Menma said, do you know what Naruto did to make Menma hate him so much? Kakashi whispered to Kushina, not a clue. As far as I know, they were never around each other because of Menma's attitude. I would say it was when Naruto put a kunai to his throat, but Menma hasn't liked Naruto since they were born really. Kushina whispered, we might want to have a talk with him. Kakashi whispered, I'll do it when this is over. Kushina whispered and Naruto appeared with blood on his shirt making everyone look at him. What? Naruto asked. What's with the blood? Kushina asked. A small root problem that got in my way. Naruto said and pulled out a book. Is that a new book? Kushina asked. Yes. I wrote it myself. Naruto said. What's it about? Kushina asked, as she was interested. It's a love story about a shinobi who lost his way and found love. Naruto said and Kakashi appeared next to him. Do you have an extra copy? Kakashi asked. Yes, but it'll cost you. Naruto said. How much? Kakashi asked. Since it's not available in stores yet and I know you'll want the limited edition version, it'll cost you the Chidori and the lightning blade. Lightning is my strongest chakra nature. Naruto said. I would like to, but I can't. Those jutsu only work with the Sharingan since they create tunnel vision. Kakashi said. This is going to be a 5-part series. Naruto said and Kakashi pulled out 2 scrolls. Deal. Kakashi said and they swapped. Pleasure doing business. Naruto said. Are you two done? Kushina asked. Yes. Kakashi said and started to read the book. Great. Now, Naruto, introduce yourself to everyone. Kushina said. Why? We already know each other. Naruto said. See. He agrees with me. Sakura said. Shut it, Pinky. Tell us your likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams for the future. Kushina said and looked at Kakashi who wiped a tear from his eye. Okay. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Let's see. I like training and my wolf pup. Naruto said and Kushina interrupted him. What wolf pup? I didn't know Sume gave you one. Kushina said. She didn't. Anyway, I don't really have dislikes since I tend to not let things bother me. I take that back. I don't like it when people stare at me. It's weird. My hobbies I guess would be writing and watching the stars at night. Dreams for the future. I guess have a family or travel. Maybe both. Naruto said. Interesting. Kushina said. I bet you won't even make it a week as a ninja to travel the world. You'd probably be dead on your first mission out of the village. Menma said. Menma. Kushina yelled and Naruto sighed. It's the truth. There's nothing special about him. Narumi and I have the power of the 9 tails. Narumi has the freaky chakra chains, the slug contract and she's skilled in ninjutsu as well as taijutsu like I am. What does he have? Absolutely nothing. He's a disgrace to our family and as the current clan heir he's banished from the Namikaze clan. Menma said and Naruto just chuckled. What's so funny? You were just banished from the Namikaze clan. Sakura said. There's something all of you fail to realize. I was banished from the Namikaze clan long ago. Once Menma was declared the heir to the Namikaze clan, which never existed until Minato became Hokage, I was banished from the clan. I could pick up the other clan name I was accepted into. Naruto said. What clan? Narumi asked. The Uchiha clan. Naruto said. That's impossible. Narumi. No, it isn't. I became an honorary member of the Uchiha clan when I was 6 after mastering the fireball jutsu. Makoto oversaw my rite of passage, as did Fugaku, and I was accepted into the clan. That's why I was able to just walk into the Uchiha clan district without having to worry about the angry looks they'd give outsiders. Naruto said. Is that true, Kushina-sensei? Sakura asked. Yes. That, and he was technically an Uchiha at the age of 5 when Makoto gave him a blood transfusion after he was attacked one night. Her blood is inside of him, and if somebody were to do a DNA test through a blood swap, it would show that they're a match. Kushina said. So that means you're Sasuke's brother? Sakura asked. In a sense. Naruto said. Wait a minute. If he has the Uchiha DNA inside of him, does that mean he can awaken the Sharingan? Narumi asked, and Kushina laughed. No, he can't unlock the Sharingan. Kushina said, and Kakashi looked at Naruto with his Sharingan revealed. Well, this team is very interesting. Kakashi thought and lowered his headband. That's an invasion of privacy, Kakashi. Naruto said, and Kakashi gave him an eye smile. I have no idea what you're talking about. Kakashi said. Right. Naruto said. Okay. Meet us tomorrow at Training Ground 7 at 5 a.m. Do not eat breakfast or you'll throw up. Later. Kakashi said and went up in smoke. Narumi, want to come with me to see how Ino is doing with her team? Sakura asked. Sure. I've got nothing else to do. Narumi said, and they left, as did Sasuke. Well, I'm going to Ichiraku ramen. Menma said. Wait. When you get him later, we're going to have a long discussion about your attitude towards your brother. Kushina said. Whatever. Menma said and ran away. I'm not doing any D-rank missions. Naruto said, and Kushina looked at him. Every genin has to do them. Kushina said. I don't. I was Makoto's apprentice, as you could say, and we did a few D-rank missions before she died. I've paid my dues already. Naruto said. How many did you do? Kushina asked. Over 100. Naruto said. Why so many? Kushina asked, and he shrugged. I don't know. All I know is that I'm more than qualified to have some C-rank missions, and I've got the skills to back it up. Naruto said. I'll talk to Minato about it. Kushina said. Cool. Naruto said. Before you go, I want a copy of your book. Kushina said and held out her hand. It's going to cost you. Naruto said.